We are here with Harman Candola. Harman Candola, local lawyer, corporate law, practices corporate law, is the vice president of the World Sikh Organization here in Alberta. For Alberta, you are, right?
Yes, vice president for Alberta. I'm also a board member with the Edmonton Mennonite Center for Newcomers.
He is.
And
So local advocate, man about town, has all the bona fides that we need to have these political conversations. My very first guest on Statecraft since we started the show, and the reason why I chose Harman as my very first guest is I knew that we wouldn't have a shortage of things to talk about. We agree on a lot of things politically, but we also disagree respectfully on other things, and I wanted to have those conversations. And Harman and I met back when he was running in 2015. How did we meet? I can't remember. How did we meet? Other than you just called me out of the blue.
well, funny story. I'm a very loud person, not too aware of my surroundings when I'm at a restaurant. And there I was in late 2014, having conversations and meeting with people, talking about potentially running, political neophyte, had a campaign team of similarly political newcomers. And one day at a Vietnamese restaurant downtown, I'm talking, I'm using my arms like I like to do. There's a gentleman at a table next to me, interrupts me respectfully and says, "Hey, are you in politics? You getting involved? What's going on?" I'm like, "Well, I'm looking around and we're just getting advice from people." And he's like, "You gotta go see my guy." And his guy was Najib Judd. And it's interesting enough that all these years later, we have no idea who that was. I've got a
Actually, I have no idea who that was. It wasn't a plant, as you've accused me of many times.
I don't know. Najib just has these people all around.
Just waiting till my name is brought up.
And we kind of talked about the story of our shadowy first meeting, where you amazed me and wowed us with your words. And you talked about using data and analytics and how to target people, and I was blown away. I thought you were a political savant, and to this day I still have that respect for you, Najib.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, let's get back to we talked to about Bill 21. I think we need to talk more about that. I think you brought up this topical conversation about Canada being broken. I've been on air talking about the broken electoral system, which I still think is broken. I think any two-party system is a broken system. But as far as Canada being broken, people cite evidence, in terms of the racism, bigotry, divisiveness, toxicity, as evidence of that. A recent Maclean's article, is contrarian to that and says that, on almost every metric of a global country that has all of the markers of a successful society, Canada is consistently top 10, if not top 3 countries in the world in quality of life, and economy, entrepreneurship, healthcare, all these markers, which this article cites and saying that we're far from broken. And I agree. The more that I travel and live in other countries and places, the more I realize how privileged we are to live in a place like Canada. But I think also this article kind of glosses over the experiences of different communities and where those feelings of brokenness come from. And I think we've touched on it a bit, but things like Bill 21 don't help communities feel like you're living in a country that welcomes you and includes you.
Yeah, Najib, I really struggle with the narrative of Canada is broken. I was listening to a drive-in morning talk radio show in Edmonton, and they had a pretty prominent senator on there who's talking about he's never seen the country this divided. I called my brother afterwards to have a conversation of what are these people talking about? There's obviously some level of anxiety with the economic situation in Alberta, but to suggest this rhetoric that this country's never been more divided. We went through a crisis where 49 point something % of Quebecers are about to vote to separate from this country. Like, that is a crisis.
Yeah.
Not being able to reconcile Indigenous rights and governance with our own economic development and climate stewardship. That's not a crisis. Oil prices being low worldwide, is not a national crisis. I think back to on the issues you talk about Bill 21, and I think about how so many Canadians today look and say that Justin Trudeau has failed at leadership and he's not taking a stance, and where is he on this issue? But my question is, where is he on Bill 21? And when we talked about the situation that happened with Don Cherry, and with his comments about immigrants, people who come to this country. Again, when I went on air and I offered my comments in the media was, well, let's talk about Bill 21. Forget the isolated incident with Don Cherry. Again, there's a reckoning that needed to happen within the sports media and within that environment about incorporating diverse voices. But let's talk about Bill 21. And when we dealt with Justin Trudeau's blackface and brownface situation, again, I went on the media to say, well, okay, if he's apologetic and he wants to take substantive action that represents his true feelings about speaking out on race and issues, where's the old Bill 21? And what I go back to is a conversation that I had with both of the leading candidates in the Conservative Party of Canada's leadership race, both Peter MacKay and Erin O'Toole, to get their thoughts and get their comments on Bill 21. And this is what's extremely telling for minorities, which is, they both, and they were willing to be forthright enough to say, one of them was forthright enough to say, and I don't want to attribute, these comments to either one, but just know that it was either one of the two of them, is, well, we want to win in Quebec. That's a reality. Okay, so you're willing to appease people who, my question was, well, what's your personal opinion of Bill 21? And his personal opinion was that this is discriminatory, that this, offends him, it offends his basic sensibilities of what this country should be. In his mind, it's a breach of the charter, and that it's racist because it disproportionately affects and is intended to affect people of the Muslim and Sikh background. So, yet they're willing to excuse racism
for
votes. Or they're willing to say, well, Canadian law allows for the notwithstanding clause, and we're hopeful that Quebec will make its own mind up, and Quebecers will. And they give you those platitudes. So again, you're willing to excuse racism and excuse the basic violations of what you believe this country to stand for, which is your charter, and say that there should be a limit or there should be some type of conversation around this. Yet at the same time, now you're going to talk about this country being broken for others, but not for people of minorities.
Yeah, and I think this was so evident in 2019 in both our provincial and our federal elections, Harman, is that modern day politicians and parties have no idea what's going on in this country. They seem to have no ideas of the changing demographics and what that means. They seem to have no idea how to appeal to people, past demographics. They're outdated ideas of what the demographics are, but really appeal to people on people's lifestyles and cultures and even things like where people come from and their origins and their narratives and their struggles. Modern politicians and parties have no idea how to do that. And this is why they keep all huddling around the center. You know what I mean? Like it's like wherever they think the votes are and saying whatever they think that the voter wants to hear. And we keep getting asked this, like where are our independent, strong voices? The U.S. has Bernie and has AOC and has what do they call it? All the new elected female representatives.
That's right. Yeah,
the tribe.
That's right.
Like where are outspoken voices like that? And and it's true. Like we don't have them.
Well, so I think Najib, this goes down to from a community perspective. So part of that conversation I was having with one of the political CPC leaders, his comment to me was, "Well, Jagmeet Singh didn't say anything about it," and I respectfully said, "Well, this is not a Jagmeet Singh rally."
Yeah.
And if I'm here at an event, the people that you're expecting to support you from this community, they're not NDPers. Why does Jagmeet Singh speak for them? And why does Jagmeet Singh not speak?
He doesn't speak for every person of color in this country.
Right, but this is what leaders of this country, political leaders in this country, have reduced our politics to. That if an elected official from your community doesn't raise this issue or doesn't take a position on this issue, it doesn't matter. they've undermined the agency that our communities have, right? And they've reduced it to just political representation. And that's where, it becomes very problematic for us in electing and focusing our resources in electing public officials. And so there's actually very good scholarship and on how minority communities and vulnerable communities need to go about advocacy. And one of those things is to say that, the focus should be on independent third-party advocacy organizations rather than focusing on getting people elected. Because once you're elected, now you're constrained by, your own party, party politics, party identities, and you're not actually able to speak out.